What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and it's time for another episode of Ranked, the series where we take a band or an artist and we rank all of their studio albums from worst to best, get this, the kicker here, in my own personal opinion. And today, up for discussion, we have the pop rock, although the rock has definitely gone by the wayside in recent years, band Maroon 5, that's become a punching bag in a way, but also we should remember the good times that we've had with some of their music that wasn't total garbage. We'll fly off the rails in places, and I'm sure that some people will disagree, but it's hard to not talk about Maroon 5's woes while also praising some of their stuff. You'll obviously see where a lot of this is headed, and I wanted to make this episode just because I know I do a lot of bands that I just outright love, but also it can be fun to look at a band that just has a messy discography, and that's exactly what we have up for discussion today. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on Maroon 5's discography, all 6 albums. How would you rank them? Sound off in the comments. Drop a like on this video because a like goes a long way, and Ranked does take a lot longer than a lot of other videos to actually make and produce, so I appreciate you hitting the like button, subscribe if you're new, and here we go.
It's gonna hurt you if I don't say goodbye. You don't believe me.
Listening to Red Pill Blues is like dragging a rusty anchor across the bottom of a deserted swimming pool. It's completely hollow and nearly unrecognizable when you compare it to what used to be there. We used to have fun here with those guys, you may think to yourself, but as the anchor continues to scrape away, you realize that it's indeed scraping the bottom of the barrel you thought they'd pretty much already hit on the album that came before it. Dignity completely sails out the window on this lifeless cash grab featured artist fest that relies heavily on the talents of others instead of, writing songs themselves or actually doing something with their instruments other than standing around acting like they're playing them when they're probably not even plugged in. To say this album is shameless is an understatement because it's clear that the band had already sold their souls long ago. They traded out tight rhythm sections and catchy grooves for Snapchat filters and pandering to mindless drones. Its one major redeeming moment is What Lovers Do, but I'd credit that mainly to the featured guest SZA, who absolutely kills it on that track. From its insufferable album cover, title, and songs that lie within, you'll be tortured by the musical stylings of Maroon 7. Yes, 7, because there's now 7 fucking members in this band. What they actually do remains undetermined, but who could actually bother to care enough to find out? One more listen to Don't Wanna Know, the Girls Like You rap remix with Cardi B, or Denim Jacket, and I might just gouge out my eardrums with a toothpick.
It was always you. Can't believe I could not see it all this time.
I've got these feelings for V, and no, not the kind of feelings that Adam Levine loves to whine about. These are generally feelings of hostility or frustration. So take a seat, Maroon 5. Welcome to tape number 5. Where to begin? The fact that they duped us with the first 2 singles that were genuinely really solid, or should we just cut to the bullshit and attack the infirmary where all of the actual atrocities lie? Fine, we'll start off with some positive thinking. It Was Always You is one of Maroon 5's best songs, taking on a more mature sound, showing off the natural refinement that should have come easily to an experienced band. Sadly, the groovy synth-filled pop rocker is one of the only true gems on V or 5, whatever the hell you want to call it, alongside the lead single Maps. Fast forwarding to all of the shit stains that line this stinker, we first encounter Animals, which sounds quite predatory lyrically. Not predatory as in, oh wow, I just watched a lion take down a gazelle on Animal Planet. Think more of a, I just watched Adam Levine stalk a woman in the grocery store while somehow deluding himself into believing that she wants to hear him howl like a wolf. The madness certainly doesn't end there, although I wish I could say it did. In Your Pocket sounds like a dad talking about technology with Adam's constant phone references. Feelings takes the crown as the most excruciating, painful vocal performance in the band's career, and who could forget the curse upon humanity that is Sugar? You know exactly what you did when you made that song and the music video, Maroon 5. Now we're all gonna be forced to hear this terrible song at weddings for the next 5 decades. So, thanks a lot for nothing. V is a scatterbrained, off-the-rails roller coaster that saw a total loss of creative control from a band that once wrote and composed all of their own material. Pop was always a large part of what made them successful, but good God, it doesn't mean that you have to hand over all of your snark, attitude, and soul when you update your sound.
I can't lie, you're on my mind, stuck inside my head. I wanna feel your heartbeat.
You know, I think this album might be objectively better than my number 3 pick that I'm going to reveal momentarily, but this album, it bored me. It really, really bored me, even if it is technically more proficient or whatever. The boys were really scraping the bottom of the pop rock R&B barrel by the time Hands All Over landed, and it really shows in the way that the album was received. There are some songs that recapture the magic of their early work, such as Never Gonna Leave This Bed, which has a great hook and a great build, and also I Can't Lie, which is a lot of fun, but most of the album feels like forgettable background fodder, in my humblest of opinions at least. Don't start here if you're trying to get into Maroon 5's early stuff. Just take a time out and maybe dial it back a little bit further, because mostly this is a humdrum affair that dabbles with nothingness, not advancing the dial whatsoever. I can see why on the next record they flirted heavier with pop, but this, it got stale. They should have moved on from this in a bigger, more expansive way. We're gonna talk more about it, but for now, hey, at least the title track Hands All Over was catchy as hell, very infectious, because I hate it when the title track sucks. Maybe that's just a personal pet peeve, but doesn't that suck when the title track, the thing that you named the album after, it's just no good?
The look she's giving, your body rocking, keep me up all night. 1 in a million, my lucky strike.
For as much hell as I gave Overexposed when I initially reviewed it in 2012, I think it must have grown on me a bit over the years. Either that, or I just needed a long-ass break from the overexposure that the radio gave all of the album's singles. Forget Payphone. In fact, just forget Wiz Khalifa's cloudable verse that has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the song. Forget the fact that the band had to resort to working with dozens of outside co-writers and producers, and try as hard as you can to listen to it objectively. You're not gonna hear a great album exactly, perhaps it's a bit of a sleazy one that feels a little bit too dated, but I'll be damned if some of these tracks aren't ridiculously fun to sing along to. This was post-sellout, but pre-full-on ego takeover, so basically a really weird wonky time for Maroon 5. They were dominating the charts again after stalling out a bit with Hands All Over, and we can either thank or else curse the name of producer Shellback for teaming up with them for Moves Like Jagger and reigniting their fame. The disdain for Payphone is rather deserved, although I don't outright hate every element of its existence, but my feelings on One More Night might be shocking for some of you to hear. I like this song, okay? I do. It's not a bad pop rock song. In fact, the hook, it won't quit. I know it's relentless. I know it's repetitive, but it's propelled. There's fuel on that fire there. It's just too infectious to deny. Moving on from there, there's not much depth on this album, but I think it's okay to wade in the shallow end from time to time, even if it looks like the pool hasn't been cleaned in a few weeks. Lucky Strike hits right away with a snappy little guitar riff before bouncing its way through a memorable hook, and Ticket sees Adam's sass overflowing in a good way for once. There's a lot of owing on this album, which gets old very, very fast, but if you skip over the red flags or you're able to push past them, maybe you'll get some enjoyment out of Overexposed. Maroon 5 almost completely creatively fizzled out after pumping out this album, so take it for what it is. One last ride with a band that once held a torch in the pop market while still retaining a bit of their dignity.
I can't wait to take you home, fingers through your hair, kisses on your back, scratch me with your nails.
After taking a few years to peak commercially, songs about Jane finally caught fire and turned Maroon 5 into a household name in the early 2000s. Perhaps the only thing stranger than this group becoming massively popular was the fact that it took 5 years to follow it up. The end result of their labor was a slightly more synthesized but smooth as butter sophomore album that was anything but a slump. It Won't Be Soon Before Long is a sharp, sensual, and sturdy follow-up that might not have topped Jane, but damn it, they came close here. I'd argue that some of the singles here are stronger than those from the highly revered debut album. I mean, Wake Up Call? That song is dark as fuck, and If I Never See Your Face Again is easily one of the best tracks they've ever written. What Maroon 5 did best on album number 2 was their dedication to the groove. Each song had a well-balanced mixture of guitars, keys, and spry bass, and also some vocal charisma from Adam Levine. The songs are perhaps even more sexually charged considering the debut was written with a certain ex-girlfriend in mind, and at this point in time, Adam was a free man, single, and doing his fair share of mingling under the covers. Moments that make those feelings come to life include the chipper 80s-influenced Kiwi, a song that struts with such a blissful confidence that it's hard not to love it, especially when the brass section kicks in right before a loudmouth guitar solo. Little of Your Time describes similar highs and lows in a new sexually charged relationship, bringing in some funk to really help sell the mood. Levine actually captures some tender moments with an earnest performance on the vocal standout Nothing Lasts Forever and the powering Goodnight Goodnight. I just wished he'd followed more of this humanity on their future releases, but I've come to accept that his ego got washed out to sea as the fame rose over the top of his head. It Won't Be Soon Before Long isn't recognized enough as a strong album, at least not outside of its big singles, so consider this me giving it its praise where it's due and also giving my big stamp of approval here. It's not quite number 1 because nothing quite hits the same way as number 1.
Strung you along, oh shame on myself. I don't know how I got so tangled.
Across 12 songs in 45 minutes, the young band sailed the smooth seas of blue-eyed soul, funk, and pop after ditching the name Kara's Flowers and rebranding as Maroon 5 in the early 2000s. The former project was more grungy in nature, a stark contrast from the bright, optimistic love songs that seemed to pour out of Adam faster than beads of sweat falling off your Uncle Ted at the sauna. Their chemistry was already a strong bond formed in their years together as Kara's Flowers, and their hard work paid off when the record broke out in 2004, 2 years after its initial release. The way these tracks are written show us a sheer willingness to get into the nitty-gritty details of a relationship, going the extra mile as Adam writes, well, you know, songs about Jane, his ex. It's in the title of the album. The drumming on this record is a slam dunk, and it's a shame former drummer Ryan Dusick didn't stick with the band due to health concerns, because the way he grooves with Mickey Madden's bass is kinda supernatural. Hot take alert, but Harder to Breathe is one of the best songs of the 2000s in my eyes. The grooves they managed to capture there are unreal. It's something the listener can come back to again and again without hesitation. Kudos to Maroon 5 for making an album that's still holding up this well. I highly suggest hearing it in full because the vocals, guitars, melodies, and group dynamics all sound so good on the band on songs about Jane. Wow, what an adventure that we went on through Maroon 5's discography today. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. Drop a like on it if you did, and subscribe for the love of music. Before the year ends, I'll be ranking all of the Slipknot albums in addition to ranking all of the Tool albums from worst to best. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Make sure you stay tuned, you don't wanna miss out on that. And next year, I will go ahead and say this, ranked is only going to be every other month just because it is so time consuming. But if you wanna support this series and help it keep going, then please hit the top link in the description down below to consider donating to my Patreon page. You can also click the card over in the corner of the screen if you wanna help support ARTV. There's perks that you can get in return, including like polls that you can vote in for videos that get made in the future and music recommendations. So hit that up over there. A couple of other episodes of Ranked floating below me, and I will see you soon for more on ARTV.